Well, this is Baruch here, and I'm at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel. And right now it's time for the morning meditation with Rabbi Mimran. The meditation is not really the right word, which he said. The right word is dvekus. What we're really looking to is to cling to God. It's the only reality that really exists. We have tremendous fantasies. And we have group fantasies that the whole nation, that the whole world believes in, which are wrong. But we do it anyway. The B'nai Nevi'im, that's the introduction number 2 that Rabbi Memran's going to talk about, the school of the prophets. So he says the commandment of the Vekas, about Shem, that is binding yourself to the Creator, enables an individual to develop the proper spiritual skills and practices in order to have a direct personal spiritual encounter and experience with our blessed Creator. The methods and manners of such spiritual skills have been an integral part of Torah tradition and Torah learning and performing the necessary mitzvah. Throughout the centuries, literally, since the days of Moshe Rabbeinu himself, prophecy and later Ruach HaKodesh was a daily spiritual occurrence. Even today, we have those spiritually focused souls who are inspired with the divine impression and enabling them to be in the presence of the divine. An important point should be mentioned that most people are not usually gifted to be in contact with the spiritual world. In the olden days, one had the opportunity to attend special schools, especially exclusively derived for this purpose, to excel in this domain, since this could not be achieved on one's own merit. These schools of the prophets and the students were called B'nai Nevi'im, the sons of the prophets, since a student is always considered as dear to the teachers as his own children. In other words, one who sought to bond himself with Hashem and experience the divine presence had to join a school of fellow colleagues who, under the direction of the experienced master prophet, trained the novices in the art of the spiritual realities and the methods and techniques used to experience them. A lot of this is what he's saying has been lost because we travel a lot, been massacred a lot. This prophet training program required the beginning prophet to adopt a rigorous set of training rules aimed at reorienting his mind and his consciousness to cultivate within him the sensitivity of subtle spiritual realities, unseen and unknown by the common person. Trainees were trained on the science of consciousness and manipulations. Let's say that again. Trainees were trained in the science of consciousness and manipulations. They cultivated an awareness of the subtle nuances of the spiritual forces that underlie physical forms that cause the flow of all things here on earth. Again, they cultivated the awareness of the subtle nuances of the spiritual forces that underlie. The spiritual forces are preliminary to this world that cause the flow of all things here on earth. In reality, the student prophet had to learn to experience an alternative reality existing side by side with this one, our world. The passageway was not via some external means, but rather through a secret inner passage, through the inner recesses of the mind. With a lot of practice and patience, the student would be able to transcend the realm of the inner mind until eventually achieving an experience of the outermost limits that the human consciousness can perceive. At this junction is where the student would have a transcendental spiritual experience. With the destruction of the first holy temple many thousands of years ago, the age of prophecy ended. Nevertheless, a lower level of spiritual enlightenment was and is still available, and this is called Ruach HaKodesh. Since the days of the Holy Temple, aspiring students of prophecy have never been dissuaded from the lower forms and levels of accomplishments that the epoch of the exile has brought upon the Jewish people. And there have been times of tremendous excellence in this area. The prophetic were nevertheless transmitted through the ages until today. I guess he means the techniques of prophecy were nevertheless transmitted through the ages until today by a small circle of spiritual seekers. The method and techniques used to expand human consciousness, enabling it to experience and embrace spiritual reality, have been well preserved in Torah literature. These techniques and their practices are considered vital because only they enable one to fulfill the important biblical commandment, mitzvah saseh d'oraisa, of the Vegas, bonding with Hashem. This is Baruch Fleischman, and that was, well, the ultimate introduction by Rabbi Mimran. And after that, he's going to go into the technique and start talking about what the prophets actually did, so we can learn some of that too. All the best.